Let's go to the beginning. There are a lot of people, critics, quickly saying, when you said Little Rocket Man or Fire and Fury, or, you know, when he said, oh, I've got a red button on my desk, you said, well, mine's bigger and it works better than yours. How did it evolve from that to this? Because he did say at the very beginning, we're going to basically start over, but that has been building behind the scenes.
Well, I think without the rhetoric, we wouldn't have been here. I really believe that. You know, we did sanctions and all of the things that you would do, but I think without the rhetoric, you know, other administrations, I don't want to get specific on that, but they had a policy of silence. If they said something very bad, very threatening and horrible, just don't answer. That's not the answer. That's not what you have to do. So I think the rhetoric, I hated to do it. Sometimes I felt foolish doing it, but we had no choice.
So strategically you were doing it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he gained respect. You know, he's a strong guy. Hey, people were saying, what's he like? He's got a very good personality. Mm-hmm. He's funny, and he's very, very smart. He's a great negotiator. And he's a very strategic kind of a guy.
One of the points that I think surprised everybody, and I think every American should be very happy about this, is the Korean War, which has gone on for so long. But more importantly, there are still American remains there, and they will be repatriated.
The remains are coming back, and we got that at the end. In fact, we have some things that you don't even have in the report. We put out the report.
Anything you can tell us?
What we signed. Yeah, missile sites that they use for the launching of missiles and missile research areas. That's going to be gone. We made a lot of progress, tremendous amount of progress. So one of the things that I'm very happy about, we're not going to play the war games anymore, which you know how expensive that is? We're flying these massive bombers in for practice from Guam. I said, how far is Guam? 6.5 hours, sir. I said, that's a long way for a big bomber times, 20. And lots of other planes coming in. So we're not going to be doing the war games as long as we're negotiating in good faith. So that's good for a number of reasons, in addition to which we save a tremendous amount of money. You know, those things, they cost. I hate to sound like a pure businessman, but I kept saying, what's this costing? I would look at them coming in from the sea and bombs exploding everywhere. I said, what does this cost? I don't even want to tell you, but it's a lot. So we're not going to be doing that as long as we're negotiating in good faith, which I think we will be.
You managed expectations, I think, pretty well. You didn't think coming in here you were going to sign an agreement, and you said maybe it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings, but you were open to going as fast or slow as you wanted.
We got along better than I would have assumed right from the beginning. We got a lot more done today than I ever thought possible. And he's going back. He's now headed back. And I think he's going back to get this done. He wants to get it done. You know, you hear the whole thing about his father and other administrations or his grandfather. The fact is that he brings that up. But they weren't dealing with me. They were dealing with different people. And
what did he say was the difference?
Nobody's ever come close to this.
Did he talk about the difference between past administrations and yours?
Yes, but I can't say that because I don't want to be the one saying it. At some point, I'm sure he'll say it.
Yeah.
But they never got it done. And they were never this close either. I mean, it was never to a point where they were like we are.
Is there a history lesson to learn here? I think in one sense we could talk about past administrations. Reagan, evil empire, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. His own advisors wanted to take those words out of that speech. And you compare Bill Clinton gave Kim Jong-un's father $3 billion in energy subsidies.
Tremendous amount of money.
The mullahs in Iran, you have said the worst deal in the history of mankind. That's
probably the worst deal I've ever seen. Worse than NAFTA, and I think NAFTA is pretty bad. Worse than the WTO, the World Trade Organization, which frankly built China, in addition to the money that we gave them all the time. You know, I mean, these were terrible deals. But I would say that the Iran deal was one of the worst I've ever seen. I will say, speaking of the Iran deal, since we got out of that deal, and we could do it very easily because they never had it approved by Congress. It was just President
This must
Obama.
be approved by Congress.
I want it to be approved by Congress because otherwise it really doesn't mean very much. I would think anybody would want it approved by Congress. But since we took out of that deal, we got out of that deal, I think Iran is a much different place. I don't think they're looking so much to the Mediterranean and Syria and Yemen. They're starting to pull people out of Yemen. They're starting to pull people out of Syria. It's a whole different thing. Now, I did it for nuclear, but one of the side benefits is you take a serious look, and Iran is not the country that it was 3 or 4 months ago when they were much more emboldened.
Well, certainly sanctions played a big part.
Big part.
The strike forces that you sent into the region off the coast.
And I think at a certain point, honestly, I know the Iranian people. I know many people from Iran. These are great people. I really believe at some point they're going to come back and want to negotiate a deal.